Guys, what's up? How you doing? Hopefully you're doing great, or as good as you can be doing. I'm a little bit to a lot pissed today, because every once in a while I'm reminded how things are here in this reality. And one thing that really upsets me is the audacity of certain associations and organizations that do this to our sky. I don't know. I can't show you. I mean, like, it's no point of showing you in this camera and this phone, because you'd have to be here to understand it, and it's happening, I'm sure, even where you live. Maybe not as concentrated at every place, as it is here and some other such places, but today, the morning started after, a few days of rain and gloomy, crappy weather. Finally, the day started really beautiful. There were clouds that dispersed. There was no clouds in sky. It was no clouds in sight. Really clear skies and really blue, really vibrant blue, okay? Super clear. The sun came out. It was so warm already in the morning. It would be a really nice, really warm day. Now, what happened after some time I was at work, looking out the window from my office, suddenly I see these, the so-called airplane exhaust, right? Yeah, sure, exhaust my ass. So I've seen one, I've seen two, as usual, 3, 4, sprayed all over the sky. First it was just 1 or 2 in my sight. Of course, there were probably more in the back of the building where I can't see. Then, half hour later, these things, as usual, I'm telling you something that happens all the time. It's not new. It didn't happen only today. It's happening all the time. So, as soon as you have clear skies, this is what's going to happen. There are going to be planes that will come, specific planes, spray all over, shit up in the sky. Got it? And what's going to happen is the air masses that will flow, this is the whole idea. You make a web, knowing that the air masses will spread this thing around, thin it out. How do you put butter on your bread? You don't just start like, whoosh, right? You take one, you put on like a line or like a smudge, right? And then you spread it nicely, right? And then you keep spreading it. All right, same shit, same idea. Exactly same principle going on here. So that spread thin, right? After a while, after like half hour, those 2 or 3 lines that were there, like pretty pronounced, suddenly, sort of started dissolving and spreading. They start from really thin. They go into further, they go into wider, and then they get really wide, and then the color is no longer that whitish or grayish, right? It starts kind of like blending into the sky, but the brightness, the vibrant blue of the sky is fucking over, okay? So you don't have that nice, really vibrant blue anymore. You just have this weird filter. You can't really see that there's any clouds, right? But suddenly it's kind of grayish blue, like disgusting, okay? It's disgusting because the vibrant blue is so beautiful. Anybody that been to any, tropical places where the sky gets really blue, you will know what I'm talking about. It's beautiful. It's super vibrant. It does happen here in our places as well. But they quickly figure out they can't let that happen, right? So they go and send a few fucking planes up and down shit. And, up and down the sky to shit around. And that's it. 3 hours later, remember that, 3 hours later, there's no more blue. The blue is gone. Now it's only this freaking fogginess up in the sky. And everything turns less clear, much less clear. The atmosphere is very saturated, and it starts getting like grayish, bluish, you know, sort of, but not clear anymore. Not 100% clear. And I mentioned to my coworker, actually my so-called boss, whatever, you know, I tell her like, hey, do you see what happened? Did you see how beautiful the day was, how it started? And she's like, yeah. I said, well, do you see that? Did you see these lines? I said, let me show you some photos, because I took photos, you know, in the progression of beginning, half hour later and 3 hours later. I said, look what happened. The sky was supposed to be nice, and now it's this. What? God, people drive here. Oh my God, I thought drivers in LA were terrible, but these people in Washington are awful, very awful, but in a different extreme. In LA, everybody's driving crazy. I mean, a lot of people driving fast, reckless. These people here are like on slow motion, on like actual slow motion. Like they have nowhere to be, but drive like super slow, but not slow in a cautious way, but just in a retarded slow way. I don't understand it, really don't. One thing is about respecting rules, and another thing is to basically be obstructing traffic and making it not flow. So it doesn't flow, not because there's so much traffic, but because people do that all the time. They're constantly on the brakes, they're constantly driving way under the speed limit and stuff like that, and they're very hesitant and changing lanes, that, and they're blocking whole lanes of traffic just because they can't make a move, and they're scared. I don't know, I mean, they should buy bicycles, or they should just not have cars, because it's horrible. They're basically clogging the traffic, making the traffic out of no traffic. That's how things go. So to get back to the sky, so look at this. I'll show you this. This is, you will tell me if this is blue. Look at this. This is now whitish, grayish. This is crap now. It's hot in the car, but it's not that nicely warm outside anymore. It's not that nice, clear, you know, light that comes from the sun directly. No. Now there's a bunch of crap in between. Like you have, I don't know, it's the same as if you had a window in your home. I mean, you have windows up at home, I'm hoping. And then you put these curtains up, but they're not thick curtains. They're very, very thin. They're not very dense, very thin, but they're just enough. They're just enough to dim the light, to make it sort of milky, but like also grayish, so you don't see that blue color anymore. You see this, everything starts turning like very, very, very light blue, to the point where it starts turning, you know, then imagine putting another such curtain over, and then it starts turning white. So the sky is just white. It's just bright, but not bright, not sunny, right? You know that there's sun somewhere up there. You can barely even see it now. Yeah, that's it. So, and then when I say that to my boss, she was like, I show the photo, she's like, yeah, nature. I said, nature? What are you talking about? What nature? I said, this is man-made, you know, this is the manipulation of the weather and, you know, the conditions for all of us here. And she's like, of course she thinks I'm some nut, you know, like conspiracy nut, right? I mean, but in actuality, she just doesn't want to know. There's a lot of things that, like, the person like herself, when I mention things, she doesn't want to hear. Sometimes I mention some stuff and then she pretends that she got very busy on the computer and she doesn't even answer. I say, so what do you think? And she like, and I say, and like she completely shuts me out. So this is why this is happening, you see, because people do not want the responsibility of knowing. They don't want to know. They don't want, you know, their reality to be crushed. Their reality is they're far away from that. It's not their concern. They can't do anything about it. They're too fearful to actually take a step into that direction, to be active and say, hey, to be active participants and say, hey, what's going on? What kind of shit is this? We don't deserve this. What's going on? Who's doing this stuff? Let's figure it out. If everybody was like that, then for sure, I'm telling you, this will be shut down. These kind of operations will be shut down in a matter of a week. But of course, we have people like that who are like, and who are just like, the least I know, or the less I know, the better I live, right? Well, not true. Of course, that's a very short-term thinking, because it does affect you whether you like it or you don't. So she came up with this thing. When I said it's man-made, it's not. This is purposefully. These are planes being sent out there to basically dim the sky, to dim the light, to take away the power of the sun. Which, by the way, through the emission of the light onto this plane of reality, is sending vibration also. So if you can lower that vibration by dimming it, I mean, just think about it. Can you see clearly in a room with a dim light? You can't, right? What also happens if you're trying to read in a room like that, or do something that requires very clear eyesight? Your eyes will have to struggle to make up these images, to basically kind of sort of half guess and present something to your brain that, your brain will have to basically kind of like compensate for the things that are not being seen or seen clearly. And what's going to happen is it's going to drain the energy, because it's a lot of work, right, to try to figure out what everything is. What is this? Why is that like that? Why is it this way, or why is it that way? It just takes an enormous amount of energy. Same way, if you're processing information from the sun, and there's always some barrier in between, you're always trying to like figure out, and that's not on a conscious level, by the way. That's on a subconscious, and even more so on the unconscious level. So you're not even aware of that's happening. These are signals you're getting through, but your being is trying to decipher what's going on, what's coming through. It's like listening to this really choppy signal in one of the radio stations, and having a really interesting interview with somebody explaining something you're really interested in, but you cannot make it out. What the heck are they talking about? Because it's so choppy. So in order for you to try to pick up on what they're saying, you will be so engaged, fully engaged, but guess what? At the end of the day, you're going to be so drained at the end of the interview, actually. You're going to be so drained, and you still won't actually know 100% of what they were actually talking about. And because you don't know, you're going to make certain conclusions, most likely, not most likely, but they will be based upon the lack of understanding, the lack of, hearing properly. So this is what actually is happening behind and beyond all of it. All right? It seems like, it's just the weather, it's fine, it's like, it's still sunny. I mean, yeah, it's sunny, but it's crappy, it's shit, right? And it doesn't make you feel good, because it feels like somebody put a lid on you. And you feel this pressure. That's why people are so exhausted. That's why people are also so depressed. You think that just happens by itself? Just like, this. Oh my God, no. Yeah, somebody got very upset because I got in between one of the lanes, and I didn't even cut them off. They sped up after they saw that I'm gonna go in. It's like, what? And then they get upset. That's like so stupid. So. It's like your being is trying to decipher these things, and trying to decipher, and it cannot read, it cannot decipher the information and understand what the heck the information is that it's coming through. That's why, by the end of the day, in a regular life, you're exhausted. The exhaustion brings that feeling of being down, right? Because you're exhausted. So the exhaustion also brings the depression, because when you're constantly beat down and you're constantly having experiencing the lack of energy, and this is not like, okay, you can go to the gym and pretend like, I'm gonna energize myself and all this stuff. That's not the physical phenomena. This is something that is happening within you that you cannot control. That's the problem. That's where the problem is. You cannot control this thing. This is a constant. This is like having a leak of energy. Yeah, sure, you can go and try to energize yourself, and and apply your strong will, and get through it, and somehow you'll get through it. Yeah, sure, but it will make you. It will cost you. Just like as if you have a leak in your car or your house. Yeah, sure. I mean, if you're really, really willing to work hard and make some extra money, sure, you'll be able to pay some more for the water that it's leaking, or the oil in your car that is leaking, and you'll be constantly going to the auto shop and just putting more oil in it. But it's gonna exhaust you, because you're gonna have to do this all the time. You're gonna have to worry about it. You're gonna have to think about it all the time. It's always gonna be there. It won't even matter what you do. It's always gonna make you work really hard and do stuff that it's unnecessary. Invest so much energy for unnecessary reasons. You see, the same way here. It's a leak. So because you have a leak, you don't understand why you get tired. You don't understand why you get beat down, and that's the whole point. The whole point is to deceive you, to create something that you eventually accept as this, listen to this. So my boss then concluded that she said, "Oh yeah, it's pollution." I said, "Pollution?" I said, "Sure, it's but what are you talking about? What pollution?" It's pollution, the traffic, and so much. I'm like, what are you saying? Do you even know what this is? And this is, you see, that's the problem. The problem is this: people take that as like, oh, it's a byproduct of all our mechanical, carbon producing machines, right? Carbon dioxide. No, that's not it. That's heavy metal. As I told her, like, no, this heavy metal is being sprayed into the sky for a reason. This is not just there by, like, I don't know, just, oh yeah, we have so much airplane traffic, so this is just the natural consequence of it. This is not how this works. Not at all. But like I said, it's easier if you can just deny things and delude yourself that you don't want to know. And if you don't want to know, you simply just ignore it and live this life and never reach your potential, because you're always suppressed. You're always having that leak that makes you work 3 or 4 or 5 or even sometimes 10 times harder, and still not reaching that result that you would naturally if the circumstances were natural. But they're not natural. They're man-made. They are implications of suppression of your potential, suppression of your energy. Because when you have a lot of energy, when you're completely rested and relaxed, and the circumstances are 100% suitable for you, natural, right? That's when you have great ideas. That's when you have motivation. That's when you're inspired. That's when you do stuff. That's when you don't give up. That's when nothing can beat you down. But when you're already exhausted, when you're already dragged to the mud, you don't need much to keep you down. And to keep you down means you have shitty ideas. You don't see yourself as worthy as much. You don't see yourself as powerful. You see yourself as like this little tiny piece of this society that has no power on its own and that cannot do anything, cannot contribute and change things, drastically. Sure, you may think of yourself like, well, yeah, I can do some stuff, but it's really not, how much I can do. It's like what we can all do together. Like, no. You see, be careful of these thoughts, because that's not the truth. The truth is that you have so much power within yourself that you can cause an earthquake, waves in the fabric of consciousness that will force everybody around it, miles and miles around you, and even further, to actually respond and drive their consciousness to deeper levels, to start tackling things that otherwise they wouldn't. But you, it's your will. You force the reality to change. You force the reality to accept a different vibe. So, don't give up. Even though, you know, like my day started really beautifully with really vibrant blue sky, and now when I look around, it's just shit. There's sun somewhere, really like, it's like behind a glass of milk, dirty milk at that. So I know there's somewhere up there I can kind of see it, and there's, of course, okay. So this is another phenomenon. There's this big circle around the sun. And anything within that circle looks great. Outside that circle, it's a little bit more whitish, more yellowish. Now they say, oh, this is a natural phenomenon of, you know, in the sky around the sun. Give me a break. I lived over 40 years on this earth. And many years I spent on this earth before these started happening, and I've never, ever seen that before, even though that's some very common phenomenon. No, it's not. It's totally not. It's a total lie. They probably posted it online just to deceive you so that when you look it up, you say like, oh yeah, that's something natural. Yeah, that was always there. No, it was not. Think about it. Think about it. It was never a freaking circle around the sun. It looks like somebody put a lens over it, some kind of filter, like on a camera lens. It's stupid. I've never seen in my entire life up until recently. Actually, I started seeing that in the times of the lockdown here in Seattle. I've never ever seen that before in my entire life. Before, never. I even spoke to my mom, obviously older than myself. She also does not remember seeing this circle before. Never. So, guys, you know, there's so much more to all this stuff. In this battle, this is a real deal. So if you're taking this lightly, thinking, it's gonna be all okay, it's gonna work itself out, it will, yeah, just probably not to your advantage. Just so you know, if you won't do anything about it, if you won't start thinking about it and taking action in your daily life, and so that other people, everybody around you is forced to also tackle these issues and actually start hearing, you know, about them and start understanding that there is something going on, that it's not normal, that it's imposed on all of us, you, then that reality that it's going to change and fix itself is not going to be to your liking. I can assure you that. Alright, have a good day, good night, good morning, wherever you are, okay? Stay up